Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. You know, I was thinking about the messages that I bring to you. I consider them a message of inspiration that would kind of direct your thoughts and your concern toward making a change in your personal life, but to the degree that it affects the community, the family at large, in a very positive way. Especially at a time when we are going through some trying times, I'm sure we would all agree. And as I reflected on these thoughts over the past several weeks, there's one thing that's been hanging on my mind. I keep thinking about when we talk about the Bible, it seems to reach out and touch many people's lives. We talk about the 6,000 years that the Bible refers to in regards to man's existence. And just the other day, I think the news came by. They said they had found some uh, information, some bone structure, something that indicates man's dating back several million years. And I'm thinking about the differences in the statements that you hear. And then I'm reminded that somewhere in those same words about the scripture, they say that a day in the Lord is as 1,000 years. A day is as 1,000 years. And I started thinking about 6,000 years of days in each day. 6,000 years of days. How many days would that be? I don't know. But I think we wouldn't have any problem trying to go back to the beginning of time. We can just start with our own time. I do know that something that is mentioned in the scriptures, they talk about angels. They talk about heaven. Now, you and I have learned that God is invisible and that we can't lay eyes on God. And so that is reasonable to think that in heaven with angels, God was invisible and you couldn't lay eyes on God. So we don't really know what God is except God is and that God is power. So thinking, it's kind of hard to separate our thoughts about yesterday without thinking about our realities of the day. But I think thinking about our yesterdays is closer if we keep it to our day than trying to go back to the times past. But we would say that it is you can easily conclude that the story about someone in heaven, they gave it a name, I think Lucifer, standing up deciding that out of all that existed, nothing was better and bad than Lucifer. And since there was no God that you can see, no God that you can touch, lay hands on, the position was open. And who is better to take that position than Lucifer? And so Lucifer began to move in Lucifer's natural order of things. Like we all are individuals. We got a natural order of things. We got choice. And so angels had choice. The natural order of things for Lucifer was to be different than what God was. And so rather than go along with the program, he created a new program. And that program would put Lucifer on the throne. In other words, now there is a God that you can see. That God is Lucifer. And Lucifer makes the rules. So Lucifer did his thing according to those scriptures and got about a third of the heavenly host to go along with it. But apparently, the other two-thirds weren't going along with it. And so, one way or another, Lucifer and that third that decided Lucifer was cool, they had to get out of heaven. That spirit had to get out of heaven. So I don't know whether they physically kicked the people out that was acting like that. The other 2/3 got so righteous that evil had no hold on anyone. And so evil just left, went somewhere else, probably in the Garden of Eden. And then we can see the same thing happening there. Same identical thing happening right there. Someone else got to be boss rather than the boss of the earth, the boss of these beautiful trees that we see here in the fall of here in Minnesota. The boss that allows these trees to grow from year to year to year to year, to season to season to season, takes care of all of that. A plan in place, a plan that would allow us to live as peaceful and as prosperous as this beautiful grass. Well, it's still green here. This is beautiful as well. And even this part you can't see out there looks like a little forest area. Oh man, you know, with the right eye, you can see a lot of beautiful things. Anyway, so we have that reflection of someone just wanting to be boss. And ladies and gentlemen, I use that because we can see that during back when we had pharaohs and Caesars, these people were the same ones doing the same things. How did they maintain their power? Manipulating people, taking over, lying and cheating and stealing and killing. Yes, that's how they did it. That's how they're doing it. Here in America, we were called a new nation. A lot of people here in America had, in the beginning, had a lot of faith. It wasn't the same faith, but faith, just nonetheless. But a lot of crooks came. You know, when they talk about people coming from other places, they say people sending you, you're crooks. Well, that's because the crooks that came here. The crooks came, you know, there were good people that came here, but there were crooks coming. Crooks came to see what they can take over, what they can put their names on, what they can be bosses of. Good people came just to maybe make a good life. But in the mix, the good people got overwhelmed by those who just came to reflect evil. And all of that they had to go through. And so what we have is a mixture of that in all societies. All societies of the world reflect that same. And it affects the people the same kind of way. It's no mystery that if you do a certain act, there's going to be a consequence of that. There's going to be a result. And if you can learn from your actions and the outcomes, then you can move on up. Otherwise, you know what that leads to as well. So my point here, ladies and gentlemen, is to say that our nation, even with its faults, there were people who were stealing, lying, and cheating, taking from other people, bending people in slavery. But there were good people at the same time who were not doing that, who were doing whatever they could to ease the pain that was being caused by those greedy guys, those guys who were taking over, those who wanted to be power, those who wanted to sit on the throne, those who wanted to be God. Could have been an individual, could have been a whole race of people, doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that there were people who you could not say just because they were white that they were evil against blacks. They weren't. They were overwhelmed. In the end, they did what they could, but blacks still were slaves. To this day, second-class citizens. So that means that there is something greater that has got to be done. But what it also reflects, ladies and gentlemen, is that even in this country, we can see what happened in Russia. We can see what happened in Germany. We can see what happened in North Korea, happening in the Philippines. We can see what happened in Vietnam. We can see in all these places where people wanted power. They were willing to connive, work out schemes with others, as we see has been done right here within the United States. It's being exposed to us every day. The same old scheme that happened back in the Garden of Eden, the same old scheme that happened back in heaven with the angels, the same old scheme that happened in Russia with Putin, the same old scheme that happened in North Korea with whatever that guy's name, in China with whatever his name. It's the same old scheme where you lie and you cause confusion, and you got people that buy on to that lie, and you are willing to go to any extremes to cause a manifestation of your lie by lying and cheating and willing to abuse and to kill and threaten. In America right now, the effects of that activity is causing those good people who are in government to just get out of government because they're being threatened by this evilness. But what are they doing? They're opening the door for more evil to come in and make the reach of evil more accessible, to make it easier to happen. But what good is walking out doing? It's just opening the door for the bonfire to spread. And what is the other PowerPoint doing? What is the Democratic Party doing? They are doing what they possibly can, but you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that this stuff happened is because America has been living a lie for so long. They've decided that they were not going to be fair in life. It was nothing different than what has happened in the world, but people hoped that it would be different in America, that they would one day grow up and treat people fair and be fair and reap the benefits of righteousness, but they didn't do that. And over the hundreds of years we've been in existence, we've come to this point now where the biggest, I call it, in my lifetime, efforts of evil to conquer and to run over America is here today. And the Democratic Party can't deal with it with the same old stuff that allowed it to exist today. Even the policies that they are advocating to try to have administered to help people who have suffered for so long are shortcoming. They're lagging. They're leaving so many people out. So what I'm saying is, ladies and gentlemen, that practice is not a righteous practice. It's just trying to do a little bit better than you've been doing. To defeat evil, you got to be righteous. You got to make a decision, America. You got to make a decision, people. You got to do, if you don't want to go in this evil depth that we're headed, you're going to have to do the right thing. And what the Democrats are talking about, as I said, is just better than what the others are talking about, but it's not righteous. Righteous means all. It means all. It means what is good for the gander is good for the goose. It means that the resources of this earth is acceptable, that they were made by a power that we can't see, and no man, no woman, no institution has the right to put its labels on it and claim it, when in doing so, it causes pain or suffering to anyone. Pain and suffering to one nullifies this right to exist. So that means that it must be available to all. That includes what we produce, food and clothing and shelter, unlimited and unrestricted, education, healthcare from the womb to the tomb, infrastructure, transportation, whatever it is that man could imagine. The gifts have been embedded in individuals, various individuals, who must be allowed to engage themselves in the process, that the reservoir of goods and services will never be depleted, and the people of the country can be able to go forward, living in peace and being prosperous and joyous in their lives because their dreams are coming true. They are suffering not for anything, their needs, their wants, and their desires at their leisure, without ever lying, without ever cheating, without ever stealing, without ever killing, without ever hatred, without ever racism, without bigotry, without ever terror or war. It's as different as night and day. The choice is always in the hands of we, you and I, the people. My message that I bring to you today is that it is time, ladies and gentlemen, we stop playing the game. What we are dealing with right now has nothing to do with politics. We all know that the Republican Party, they're just the ones who are good and nice, they're just getting out of it. And they're taken over by people who are telling you that they are planning to take over and treat you as they want to treat you. Treat you like the slaves they think you are, so they can be the God sitting on the throne as they perceive that they are. So if you want to deal with that and beat it, you got to be righteous. You got to let every last one of them know that they have no need to worry about suffering for anything that God has made available for anyone. And they don't have to have money. They don't have to lie. They don't have to cheat. They don't have to go into debt. They don't have to owe anything but a commitment to participate in life and to be happy. And let us know if you're not. That's what I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I want to say to you. People around here talking about what's going to happen in the next election, what's happening next month, who's going to be coming and replacing the House of Representatives, and who's going to be doing what. Who's worried about that? Everybody that's dumb and blind and ignorant don't know any better. I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is your day. This is your time to just stand up and say what it's going to be like. We're not asking for people to guide us. We're not asking for people to lead us. We know where we want to go, and we know how to get there. And we're going to say that's where we're going. And anybody that stands in our way will be exposed, and it will give us an opportunity to reveal what the path is like. And all of us must come together and energize the path, not with violence, but with understanding and light to the darkness, so that all might see. They'll get back, just like any roach, just like any mouse. They'll get back as soon as the light comes on. That's all I'm asking for you today, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I want you to think about. And until the next time, please have a wonderful, wonderful day. Goodbye.